There's songs that'll make you cry on this record. There's songs that are going to make you want to kiss the person that you love. There's songs that are going to make you want to dance, and there's songs that are going to make you want to party.
It's been a year since Country Again Side A. Where we started kind of, mixes back in some of those pop sounds that you'd experimented with in the past. How did you wind your way back to that?
Honestly, man, I think it just took getting back on the road to kind of understand that what I was about to make, I think, was a little too heavy for getting back on the road. And so I kind of blended a little bit of what I thought was going to be side B into this new project called Where We Started. I think there was just something about being in front of an audience again in 2021 that reminded me that no one forgot how to have a good time, and so me and the writers kind of got back in the room and wrote 5 songs, then wrote 10, then wrote 30, then wrote 50. And like all of a sudden it was like we had just created a whole nother project. And it turned into this album called Where We Started. That's kind of the long story short. I could go into the details, but that's kind of really like where the shift kind of came from. So
Thomas, when we spoke, you hadn't gone out yet. You hadn't played in front of big crowds, but you were excited and you wondered what that experience would be like. So I'm curious, what was it like for you to go back out in this sort of new world that we're all living through, and play in front of people for the first time again?
Yeah, I mean, it was a high. Like it was like I think when you're forced to not do something that you feel like you were put here to do for that long, the chance that you get to go out there and do it, there was a lot of nerves, like way more than usual. You know what I mean? Because I was sitting there going, do I remember how to do this right? And then I'm sitting there going, from a fan perspective, even the shows I've seen in the last year, I was like, do I even remember how to have fun at a concert? Because I haven't like had a lot of fun in a long time. And it took me a couple weekends to really get back into the swing of what used to be, autopilot is not the right word, but I used to just be able to just go and do a show without even thinking about it, and in 2021 it was like, no, we need to rehearse for a long time, and like we need to like make sure that when we come back out we don't look rusty, you know what I'm saying? And a little bit of 2021 even still felt like a tease, like even though places were packed and they were crowded, you could still tell that it was like, hey, are we fully out of this thing yet, or are we not? And even from a band perspective, it's like, are we fully out of this? Are we wearing masks? Are we doing this? And now 2022, I kind of feel like is somewhat of the first wide open year since 2019. And I think this is going to be like our first, like real, like, okay, this feels like the world that we all know.
New album. You have some great collaborations on here. I want to ask you the first one, Katy Perry. Obviously when fans hear that one, they're going to be blown away. I think it's a really cool song. Tell me a little bit about how that came together.
Yeah, man. I'd never met Katy before. I literally met Katy a month ago for the first time in person. And when I finished this song Where We Started, and we decided that this was going to be the name of the record, because we felt like that phrase really encompassed a lot of what is happening for me. It's just a big reflection year for me. I've been doing this for 10 years, and just looking back at where I began means a lot to me. It kind of, you can look back at your progress over the 10 years or whatever. And so Allison Jones at our record label, who does A&R for me, suggested that we try to get a feature on this song, and she suggested Katy Perry. And so long story short, they sent Katy the song, and she loved it. She fell in love with the sentiment of the song. She fell in love with how cinematic it sounded. And we FaceTimed, and we're asking questions about, where she wanted her vocal to be and all that kind of stuff. And then next thing you know, it was mixed and mastered, and just shot a music video for it last month. And definitely a big talking point for this album, because it somewhat does come out of left field. But I think when you hear it, it doesn't sound like it came out of left field any longer. You know what I'm saying? I think just the two names sitting side by side, you go, it's just going to be like some crazy, like EDM, like pop drop thing. And it's like, it's really just a beautiful country song, produced with heavy string section and piano, and I think that's kind of where Katy thrives as well vocally. And that's where I thrive vocally. And I feel like it turned into something really, really special.
What about the story behind Death Row with Tyler and Russell?
Yeah, man. I don't know if you've heard anything about this story, so I will not bore you with all of the details, but, basically us three went to go visit a men's prison in Nashville, and we were asked to play guitar for people that were doing a sentence on death row. And we went in. It was kind of terrifying, and then all of a sudden it wasn't terrifying. It felt like we were shaking hands. We were talking to these people about their lives, about the bad decisions they've made, and how remorseful they were for the things that they had done. And I was just like, I did not expect that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what I expected, but I did not expect to leave feeling like I just judged a book by its cover. You know what I'm saying? And the song pretty much spells out everything I felt about that day. It really was not meant to cause a controversy of any kind of my thoughts on anything about the prison system. It literally was just like, I thought these people were kind of crazy or psychopaths, and they turned out, we started talking about freaking hunting and fishing and college football, and just so happens they know their fate, you know, and that's just a weird reality to grasp. So it made me look at my life a little bit different and made me go, hey, you don't know everybody's story. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm teaching forgiveness and kindness to my kids, and I need to model that and exemplify that. And that's just kind of the song that came from that experience. So
Thomas, I got to ask you, you know, one thing that I didn't touch on last year is you and your wife have known each other since you were kids. Is this kind of how you, is this, you know, back then, is this how you imagine things? Did you sit and tell her, one day I'm going to be a big star selling millions of records in front of thousands, tens of thousands of people?
Absolutely not. Like there's no way that I could have planned for any of this to happen. I remember even when we were talking about getting married, I looked back at my wife and I said, did you think I was going to make it? And she said, no. I was like, and I was like, well, why? And she was like, because hardly anybody ever does. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the math on that, it's pretty rare to quote unquote make it. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people can have hits every now and then, but like to do this for a decade is not normal. And I don't know what to attest it to except for God. Like legit. Like I just write what feels good, and somehow a lot of people in the world have received that, you know. But I think, you know, if it had been up to Lauren, I think she would have wished that I, you know, had done something where I went to work at 8 and I came home at 5. You know what I mean? I think life definitely would have been a lot simpler had that been the case. But this was my path, dude. There was no stopping it, and I think she knew that really early on in our marriage. And she's been nothing but one of the most amazing support systems in the world, and has gone with me and has laughed with me and cried with me and celebrated with me. And that's about all I could ask for, you know?
So you didn't have a plan B?
I mean, not really. I had a plan A-. You know, I don't know if there's a full B in sight. I guess I would have figured it out along the way. I probably would have gone back and finished college. That would have been my plan B. And then I would have figured it out from there. So. Okay.
So you just welcomed a new baby daughter. Congrats on that. How are you going to manage all this out on the road this summer?
It's going to be interesting. You know, I think we handled 3 pretty well. Well, I say well, we tried to handle it well on the road. 4 is just kind of a different ball game, man. I think anything that you do with an infant requires extra attention, meaning mom would need to come out. Lauren's mom would need to come out. Like, I don't know that her and I could just do that. The chaos of the road and the chaos of the kids. So I think the older 2 will come out with me quite a bit this year. Maybe just us, them 2 and me, and the younger 2 will stay here. But, you know, our kids are in school now, man, and that's changed a lot of our world. We used to be able to, at the drop of a hat, let's go here, let's go to the beach, let's go skiing for spring break or whatever. And now it's like you can't really leave. You know, they need that rhythm. You know, I think it's really important for kids to have a plan. You know, Monday through Friday we go to school. But there will be certain special weekends that they come out for sure. Why couldn't you slow